Hey guys, what's up? Derek here from Bomb Socks with more Bomb Bites, where we feast upon the words of Christ one bite at a time. So for today's episode, I want to share with you what I would like to call staying salty, keeping the wolves away, and the accidental parable of the orange. Now, all of these have to do with only 4 verses that are found in Matthew chapter 5. Now, this is after Jesus has just talked about the Beatitudes, which we just spent the last 2 days on those. You go to verse number 13. Ye are the salt of the earth. But if the salt have lost its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? It is thenceforth good for nothing but to be cast out and to be trodden under the foot of men. Now, the cool thing is when you click on the word salt, it's going to take you to 2 really cool Old Testament references. It's going to take you to Leviticus 2:13 and Numbers 18:19, where it says salt is a token of the covenant and was part of the sacrificial ritual. So whenever you wanted to make sacrifices to the Lord, you would often use salt. Now, salt is a wonderful flavor enhancer. I love good salt. And also, it's a preservative. Back before you had the refrigeration techniques that we have, salt was very much a preservative. And so it was something that was very, very important. So Jesus is saying to these people, you are the salt of the earth. Do not lose your savor. Do not become contaminated by others, because if you do that, you're going to lose your abilities to be able to bless the lives of others. The nice thing is also, it says, see topical guide salt. If you click on that, it says example. Now, the cool thing there is if you were to replace the word salt in verse 13 with an example, ye are the examples of the earth. But if the example has lost its ability to be able to be an example, then it's hard to be able to make a difference in the lives of others. Elder Neil A. Maxwell, I remember he said, look, if you want to make a difference in the world, you have got to be different from the world. We've been told this as members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We need to stay salty so that we can make that difference. Don't let the world contaminate you. It doesn't change your value as a person, but you are not able to impact the world in the ways that you could. So I love that Jesus teaches that. So stay salty. The second message here, keeping the wolves away. I remember a story from Elder Joseph B. Wirthlin where he talked about I think it was in the Ukraine area, there were packs of wolves that would travel all around, and they were just preying on visitors and things. And so it was not an uncommon practice to be able to keep a raging bonfire going, even through the night. It wasn't just a matter of comfort and convenience and for cooking and things like that there. It was a matter of survival, because as long as the fire was going, the wolves stayed away. So Elder Wirthlin said, we don't have to protect ourselves from wolf packs as we travel the road of life today. But in a spiritual sense, we do face the devious wolves of Satan in the forms of temptation, evil, and sin. We live in dangerous times when these ravenous wolves roam the spiritual countryside in search of those who may be weak in their faith or feeble in their conviction. We are all vulnerable to attack. However, we can fortify ourselves with the protection provided by a burning testimony that, like a bonfire, has been built adequately and maintained carefully, which leads to verse number 14 of Matthew chapter 5. And again, very familiar verses to the Christian world. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on an hill cannot be hid. Neither do men light a candle and put it under a bushel, but on a candlestick, and it giveth light unto all that are in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. It is very related to that idea of you are the salt of the earth. He is now saying, you're also the light of the world. That salt is the preservative and the flavor enhancer. That light can provide protection, and it can also provide abilities for other people to see. And what happens is when we hide ourselves under a bushel, then we're not going to be of much worth to other people. So let that light shine. In fact, those who know me well know with these verses right here, I think the most important word is the word let. Because if you and I will let that light shine, we'll allow it to shine, and then the Savior is able to do some wonderful things with us. If we don't do anything with it, then that light will eventually die out and become useless to us. Which leads me to what I like to call the accidental parable of of the orange. So this dates back to, I think it's been about 11 years for me. I remember it was the summertime. I brought lunch to school, and I think my wife had snuck in an orange into my lunch, and I like oranges, but at that particular day I wasn't really in the mood for an orange, and so I just let it sit there. It's an orange, it'll be fine tomorrow. And then the next day I think I went out to lunch or something like that there, so I didn't eat the orange. The following week we were out of town, and so we went out of town on a family vacation, and I think I was gone a couple days later as well. So when I got back to my office, it had been almost 2 weeks, and this orange was still sitting there, and it looked okay. On the outside it looked fine, but I was like, okay, it looks a little shriveled up. I don't know how badly I want to be able to eat this orange, but I was curious, and so I just kind of just let it stay there. It was fine. So I let it stay there for about a month, and nothing really happened. It started to shrink a little bit. Anyway, I just kind of let it sit there, kind of forgot about it. And the first day's lesson of the new school year, so this has been a couple months later, I was talking about the importance of sharing your testimony as members of the church, being that light of the world, being able to let that light shine. One of my students was saying this. They said, yeah, if you don't share your testimony, it'll eventually fade out. And I was just like, hold on. And I ran over to my office and I grabbed that orange and I said, it's like this orange. And I said, how many of you want to eat this orange? And a couple of them were like, yeah, I don't know if it looks that desirable. And it had started to shrivel a little bit and it had lost a lot of what really makes it, desirable. And I was just like, I don't know how badly I want this orange, but this is like our testimonies if we don't do anything about it. And I actually said to them, the only thing I've done to this orange is nothing. I've left it alone and I've done nothing with it, and it's just sat there. And what has happened, it is gradually starting to lose what it is. Now, the funny thing about that is I actually have that same orange. Okay, this is 11 years later, and I will put this in my classroom or use it in little lessons. It sits in my office, and it's same orange right there. In fact, it's pretty hard. It might take a lot. I might have to really, crack this thing open, maybe even use something to be able to break into this thing, but it has lost all of its juiciness, if you will. It's dry as can be. If you shake it, you can kind of hear here, there you go. There's some seeds in here, or there's something in here. There's something in here that does want to come out, but it's just sitting there doing nothing. If I crack this thing open, and I don't know a lot about horticulture, but if I was to crack this open and plant the seed in here, I wonder if it eventually would grow into a tree. Now, I'm in Utah. Utah is not known for its grand orange growing capabilities, but I wonder if it would do something. And again, all I've done to this orange for the last 11 years is nothing. I almost want to hang on to this for another 9 years or so. It doesn't smell. It's just an orange, it used to be. But I wonder if we let it. This is why I tie this back to that Matthew 5:14 through 16, and really the 13 as well. The salt of the earth, the light of the world. If we are not using our capabilities, then really this is just it's a dried up orange that's really of no value whatsoever. So that's why the Savior wants us to let our lights shine, to be able to do things with our testimonies. And as we do that, that's how we're going to bless people's lives. I know that's true. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and thanks as always for sharing these messages. We love that you do that. Please go check out our amazingly comfortable gospel themed socks at bombsocks.com. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Godspeed. Bye-bye.